Welcome to PixelTunes Radio,
a podcast where we have fun
talking about video games
and video game music.
I'm Mike.
And I'm Doom Guy Ed.
Oh, I see what you did. You switched it up there. Today's episode 66, is Doom, the franchise, but we're doing a twist. It's not only Doom, but it's same song, different system Doom.
Same song, different system light.
Yeah, I guess you could say. Yeah.
Perfect episode number 2. I mean, I don't think we're ever going to reach an episode 666.
Not in my lifetime.
So we'll just do 66 with a little tiny 6 at the end.
Yeah, a baby 6.
Episode 66, Doom.
Before we get into our Doom-tacular episode, I figure we will tackle PixelChat, which is our segment at the beginning of the show where we answer questions from you guys. So our first question comes from Ezekiel Lawrence, and he says, "Hiya, I'm a new listener with 5 episodes in and enjoying it so far. So I've been thinking and wondering what video game impacted you guys. I have a lot. From Guilty Gear getting me into fighting games and rock music, or Metal Slug for making me waste quarters and nearly mastering it. But no doubt Chrono Trigger is the one. I hated it as a kid, but came back to it months later, falling in love. This is kind of a long email, so I'll leave it at that. Keep up the work, guys."
Keep up the work.
Keep up the work.
It's just the work.
Well, he is a new listener. He's only 5 episodes in, so, you know.
That's pretty funny.
It wasn't that great.
Wait, so he hated it as a kid, but he came back to it months later. So I guess he wasn't a kid months later? Is that where we're going with this?
I don't know necessarily if I've ever had a game where I came back to it months later and fell in love with it, but originally I hated it. I'm pretty easy when it comes to games. Music, that's a different story. Like, I can put a CD on, and actually one of my favorite Iron Maiden CDs I hated when I first listened to it.
I've done that with music too.
Really? Yeah. So to answer your question, I would probably say the first Metroid game was the most impactful game. The topic's kind of generic, so we'll kind of fill in the blanks as far as that goes. But the first Metroid game was the first time that I ever got obsessed with finding all the secrets in games. You know, I played like Mario and Zelda, but you know, those didn't really grip me as much as Metroid did. So yeah, Metroid was the first game where I was like, I need to find all the secrets, I need to find all the missiles, I need to find all the power-ups, I need to find different ways to go about doing things. So that's probably the most impactful for me, I'd say.
Cool. Mine, you know, like you said, this is like a very wide open, every game has impacted me in some way, whether it's good, bad, or whatever. It kind of affects how I see the other games I play after that.
Bebe's Kids.
Bebe's Kids.
We were talking about it during the break.
Yeah.
Yes. He's been impacted the most by Bebe's Kids. No Beavis, no
Wrong.
No Beavis, no vibes.
No, honestly, I guess the game that had the most impact on me that I can remember is Dynasty Warriors 6, because it was the first game where I was already like a dad at that point. Eddie was super little.
I thought you said I was already dead at that point.
I was already dead at that point.
I was dead in my bed.
I was, you know, playing as a creature of the night.
Yeah.
One of my best friends, who now lives off in Texas, which sucks, but we used to live in the same apartment complex, and he used to come over, and we would play Dynasty Warriors 6 multiplayer like every single night. And it was great. We would sit there and drink and just smash through hordes of Chinese armies, and it's just such a good memory. And from that point on, like, I don't think I would have ever enjoyed the Dynasty Warriors series as much if I hadn't had that kind of co-op experience with a good buddy. I think I might have played it a little bit and, like, you know, just stopped playing it. But from that point on, all of the Dynasty Warriors series after that, I've played through to 100% completion. Hyrule Warriors, you know, is in the same vein, so I played through that. I guess that really kind of affected the way that I play games going forward. So that's my answer for that.
Cool.
All right, next question is from Mr. Chris Myers. We've heard from him in the past. He writes, "Hey boys," spelled just like that. "What, in your opinion, is the best and worst official console controller?"
All right, let's hear it.
For me? Oh, yeah. God. Okay. So, the worst is the Dreamcast controller.
Really?
It is an abomination to God.
Goodness.
It's just, the D-pad is little tiny baby D-pad. The analog sucks. The face buttons are super small. It's got those ridges underneath it instead of the handles. It's like, it's made in a way that if you have big hands and longer thumbs, your hand cramps up when you're playing it. Can't stand it. Plus, it's got the cord that comes out of the bottom. The original ones were white, so they got dirty really quickly. There's just so many stupid things. And the fact that if you have a VMU in it that is low on battery, it beeps with this annoying tone every time you turn it on. There's just so many things about that controller that I despise. So much so that I got an adapter for the Dreamcast to play with my favorite controllers, which are the PlayStation controllers. Just going back from even the original PlayStation up to the PlayStation 3. It's a controller that I forget is in my hands when I'm playing a game, which is my mark of a perfect controller. Everything is absolutely perfect for me. And
not the PS4?
The PS4 I love. It's very similar to the PS3, except for the share and option buttons. They're kind of wonky. And that's the only thing that would mark it underneath the PS3 controllers for me. But it's like second billing. I do really like that controller, except for those two buttons.
Yeah, it's pretty comfy.
Yeah. What about you?
So best has to be Super Nintendo, the official controller. That controller just melts in my hands. It just feels natural. And any game that I play with it, I never struggle with, so to speak. Like I don't know. I think it's perfect. Worst has to be a tie between the Atari Jaguar and the Xbox Duke controller.
Yeah, that was my runner-up for worst controller, the Xbox controller.
Oh, yeah. God, I hated that Duke.
Those stupid black and white buttons down at the bottom.
Yeah.
It made no sense.
Well, the big problem that I had was the Duke specifically was way, way too big. Not the S controller. The S controller wasn't bad, but the Duke was awful. I mean, I remember when Halo launched, and I was playing it at friends' houses, and oh my god, it was just, I couldn't play it. I just couldn't. The controller was too big. And the Jaguar, I don't know, it's just stupid. Like, it has all these numbers and stuff on it looks like a telephone. Like, get out of here.
I kind of like the Jaguar controller. I do like it because, and we'll probably get into this a little bit more as we go through the episode, but the Jaguar version of Doom, you can use the number pad to quickly select your weapons, like they were on the number pad on a keyboard. So it comes in handy for that kind of stuff. But
then you realize you're playing Doom on Jaguar, and then you're like, oh,
it's really not that bad. It's actually a pretty good port. One of the better games on the system.
You're a pretty good port.
Thanks.
Nice. All right, last question's from Niko, a.k.a. the Wii Guy, one of our previous guests on the podcast. He says, hey guys, it's Niko. And in parentheses, he put, for some odd reason, the Wii Guy, as if we wouldn't know who he is. Any plans for a Commodore 64 or ZX Spectrum centered episode of PixelTunes Radio?
Okay, so it's not specifically going to be a C64/ZX Spectrum centered episode, but I can give you guys a hint as to when you might hear some more of that music. And in the words of Ted Theodore Logan and Bill S. Preston Esquire of Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure,
69 dudes!
So take that as you will.
All right, then.
All right.
Let's get into our first track. This is Doom, the very first game, the very first track, Episode 1, Mission 1, and the track name is called At Doomsgate. We're going to start off with the PC version, which came out in 1993, and this is by Bobby Prince. That was the PC version of At Doom's Gate from Episode 1, Mission 1 from the original Doom game in 1993. This is the Super Nintendo version.
That was the SNES version of At Doom's Gate from the original Doom. This is the 3DO version.
Welcome back. That was Episode 1, Mission 1, also known as At Doom's Gate. And that was the 3DO version that we just heard. As far as this track goes, it was composed by Mr. Bobby Prince, and we'll get into him in just a minute. First off, what do you think of the track?
Well, it's pretty good. I mean, this is one of those things where it's like nostalgia gives you kind of rose-tinted glasses, I think. I didn't play too much Doom when I was a kid at all. I don't really think I played it until like Doom 95 was on computers, so by then Quake was like already out, and so I was kind of underwhelmed by the game. The music is general MIDI, so just to clarify before we even get any further into this, The versions of the Doom 1 music or Doom 1 and Doom 2 music that we're playing are the general MIDI libraries that most people heard when they played Doom. So depending on your sound card, depending on if you had any extra MIDI modules set up, your mileage of the Doom and Doom 2 music might be different. It might sound a little bit different.
Right.
So we tried to pick what we feel the most people heard when they played this game. Anyways, getting beyond that, yeah, it's a good hard rock track. I really think the 3DO version took it where it needed to go, whereas like the SNES version kind of sounded like it was played at the bottom of a dark cavern, and the original MIDI version is good. It's great for its time, but it just feels very dated to me.
The song is loosely based on Metallica's No Remorse. Actually, most of the music from the original Doom games was highly influenced by heavy metal, hard rock, and alternative bands of the time. So we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But yeah, this track is pretty much like straight up a riff off of Metallica's No Remorse. And I mean, if you do digging, you'll find out further information about all the tracks, because literally almost every single track has bits and pieces of all different types of music, but mostly of the metal variety. As far as the track itself goes, yeah, I don't know, like the 3DO version to me sounds like if the Sega CD had a port of Doom.
Yeah,
as
exactly.
far as the sound goes.
Same time era,
Yeah.
maybe 5 years beyond, but
right.
That's where Red Book Audio video game music was at that point.
Yeah, just really slick sounding, really highly produced, and it sounds good. It's definitely slowed down as compared to the
much more
the
chuggy.
original.
Yeah,
it's got these like slight keyboard tones to it. I don't know. It's not just guitar in there. It's almost like there's a synth in the background.
It's harmonizing with the guitars. So.
Yeah, the Super Nintendo version. I mean, I actually got pretty familiar with the Super Nintendo game, believe it or not. I rented it quite a bit, and I just kept renting it until I got through most of it, and then I got to a point where I just couldn't get any further. So that was actually my first experience, I believe, with Doom. But, I mean, I enjoyed the music. I thought it was good for what it was. But, yeah, playing on the Super Nintendo itself, the game didn't hold up as compared to the PC version, of course, which is unbelievable to hear from a console guy like me.
It was a game that was designed for the PC, so everything else was a port of that code.
Right.
And Doom's code was notoriously difficult for people to port for because no games like this had really seen the light of day at that point.
Yeah.
So you're going to put on a different system, you're really going to have to kind of train that system to understand how Doom works.
That's true. My first PC experience with Doom, and I've talked about this on the podcast before, I was in 7th grade and my parents were like, okay, you can either get a computer or you can get an N64. What'll it be? And I said computer, actually. So ended up getting a computer. It was an IBM Aptiva, the Windows 95 version of Windows. And I just remember getting a bunch of games with the computer, and one of the games that came with it was actually Final Doom. And I loved Final Doom so much that I ended up picking up Ultimate Doom, which has the first episode of Doom. I think it's the first and the second episode and the third, and then there's like a fourth if I recall. So yeah, just really dug it. I would even put my own music on, not my own personal composed music, but I would put like actual music on when I got bored with listening to the Doom music over and over and over and over again. I mean, I listened to it to the point where I was sick of it, so I needed something else that was also metal. So I would put my own like favorite bands metal soundtracks on.
Sense.
Yeah, and it fits really well. So as far as Bobby Prince goes, originally he was a lawyer actually before becoming a composer. He actually ended up getting hooked in with John Romero. He had a conversation with John Romero of ID Software, one of the programmers, the legendary programmers of Doom, and he actually messaged him through Prodigy. That's how long ago this was. Prodigy was still a thing. So he started working on the second series for Commander Keen. He worked at ID Software from 91 to 94, and he started working on like Wolfenstein 3D, Doom. He did Duke Nukem for Apogee Software, so he did actually a lot of the Duke Nukem games as well. And he worked on games like Alien Carnage. He worked on Doom for the Super Nintendo, Xenophage, Alien Bloodsport. He's got a huge list of games that he's done. Final Doom, he did the DOS and the Mac versions, Duke Nukem 64, Balls of Steel. He ended his career, at least as far as games that have been coming out, with Duke Nukem Advance.
So just backtracking a little bit, you call them ID Software?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. It's actually id software.
It's ID
believe it or not.
software.
It's id software.
It's ID
It's right on their
software.
website. It says id software.
But it says ID software. It's ID.
But it's a lowercase ID.
Yeah.
So it's not like...
I call
it's not
them
an
ID
abbreviation.
software.
Anyway, just wanted to clear that up.
I don't know, yeah. Ever since I was young, I was calling them ID software. So to me, they're ID software.
Okay.
So
Just telling you the real way.
the real way's overrated.
We do this at least once an episode.
Yeah, the real way's overrated. So I dig that track quite a bit. Just really awesome, solid guitar track. Good Metallica style stuff.
Excellent.
Yeah. All right, well, we're going to move on to the newer Doom game. This game came out this year in 2016, and this is At Doom's Gate again. This is the PC, Xbox One, and PS4 version of the game composed by Mick Gordon. This is definitely a different take on the At Doom's Gate song, so take a listen.
Oh, hey, Mike.
Hey, Ed. So what's so important? I got over here as quick as I could. I was in the middle of licking my Samus statues.
Wow. Sorry? I called you over here because I just created the most epic Doom mod ever. It'll blow your mind.
You made me run across town and leave a slobbery Samus at home for a Doom mod? What's wrong with you, Ed? I'm going home.
No, wait. I swear, this is awesome. I need you to try this out for me. Please?
Ugh, fine.
Sweet. Okay, sit down right here and unpause the game. Okay, now head down that hall. Turn left. Now aim right. All right, shoot the imp. Shoot him again. Okay, now jump to that platform to the left. Switch to the shotgun. All right, now grab the health behind the crate there.
Whoa there, dude. Listen, I thought you said you made a cool mod. This is level 1 of the game, and all you're doing is barking directions at me.
It's the world's first ever fourth-person shooter. You control the first-person shooter, and I control you in the third person. First person plus third person equals fourth person. I'm a genius, I know. No need to thank me.
You, sir, are many things, and a genius ain't one of them. I'm going home. Samus isn't gonna lick herself, you know. But wouldn't that be...
Oh, okay, fine. I get it. You obviously don't know genius when you see it.
I'll see you later, man. God, he's so weird. How did I ever get mixed up with him? I'm always going over his house and hanging out with him, and he always has a stupid tie on. I don't know why he's naked half the time. I don't know. I just don't get it. I need a beer.
Great. Now how am I gonna play? Oh, I got an idea. Hi, honey. Yeah, it's me. Listen, you gotta come home from work right now. It's an emergency. Okay, all right. I'll see you in like 10 minutes. All right, bye. Sweet. And welcome back. You're listening to The Reason I Showed Up Today. That was the Doom 2016 soundtrack. I think we should just call it New Doom for the purpose of making it easy on this show from going forward.
Doom, Doom 4, Doom 2016.
New Doom.
Whatever you want.
I like New Doom. Rolls off the tongue.
You roll off the tongue.
That's what my girlfriend tells me. I mean my wife. I mean both.
Oh man, so the track was composed by Mick Gordon, though we can also say that additional contributions were made by Richard Devine for the entire soundtrack. The song is just awesome. Really dark, evil guitars with deep, dark strings. Very evil sounding. One of the reasons for that is because they used a 7 and 8 string guitar on the music to give it like a lower, fatter, richer tone.
Yeah,
more
and they
vibrant.
process the sound so much it almost sounds like it's synthetic. You know, they disintegrate that vibration so much. It just sounds really cool.
Yeah, so I feel like the more strings you add on, the deeper and more evil it gets. So for this particular track, I believe actually a 9-string guitar was used. So it's also got like a dubstep vibe to it.
A little bit.
In a way, just with those electronic sounds.
The pulsing bass just kind of gives it that kind of a feel, especially in that very half-tempo beat as well.
Yeah.
No, like industrial dubstep.
Yeah. It's good stuff. I dig it. This game is great. I picked it up fairly recently, and I've just been playing through it. I'm about 4 missions in, and I'm really digging it. I mean, it definitely has that old school vibe from the original Doom, where it's just like very fast-paced action.
Minimal story, just get right into it. You know, the minute you get off that table at the beginning of the game, you're shooting dudes, and you don't stop until the game is over, I'm sure.
Shooting dudes. Yeah, the game controls really well. It's just very tight controls, and it just feels really good. You can jump on different platforms and hop up to the next level and everything. The maps are huge. The maps are ginormous. It kind of reminds me of Metroid Prime, actually, a little bit in terms of the way that they're designed. On the PlayStation 4 controller, you can tap on the touchpad, and that opens up your map, and you can take a look. It actually opens up your entire array of items that you can look at, various different aspects of not only the map, but also like weapons. There's tons of weapons that you can upgrade. I've unlocked so far the chainsaw, which the chainsaw is really cool. It's always on you, so it's not like something that you'll lose. It's something that you pick up and you have pretty much for the entire game very early on, and you can pick up gasoline for it, which is really cool. So you get up to, I think initially you get 3 tries with the chainsaw to use it to kill guys. So when you start seeing your enemies flash like orange, blue, orange, you can go up to them and do
the glory kills.
Yeah, glory kills. Those are a lot of fun.
And they get you a little extra health too, so they kind of reward you for getting up close and personal with your enemies.
Definitely.
Yeah, and like you said, with the jumping mechanic, I really enjoyed that, because you can jump, and if you don't fully make the jump, it shows you literally, grabbing on the ledge and pulling yourself up. It's very quick. There's a big difference between this and Doom 3, because Doom 3 felt very confined. It was lots of small, enclosed tunnels. Every enemy was more like a one-on-one battle, and there weren't too many areas where like enemies would swarm in on you like crazy. And this game kind of just turns that 180 degrees. You're fighting in huge warehouses or huge outside Mars surface areas, and it's like a dozen to like 18 guys coming at you at one time sometimes. So it's very fast, very frenetic, and feels much more like the original Dooms than Doom 3 did.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, Doom 3 also was created during a time when Resident Evil was huge.
Yeah.
And so a lot of game creators were more trying to put as much survival horror aspects into their games as possible. And so I think Doom 3 kind of suffered from that as well. It definitely took inspiration from those types of games, Silent Hill, Resident Evil.
I think it was also a technology decision too, because they wanted Doom 3 to have the best graphics that had ever been seen when it came out. And so to do that, you needed to not show as many polygons. So enclosed areas, 1 or 2 enemies at a time, that kind of helped processing power stay low so it could still look nicer on systems that might not be 100% capable of, running something like Doom 4.
Yeah. I haven't actually played Doom 3. I've really wanted to check it out.
I played through it. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. It looks really cool.
Totally worthwhile.
Word. All right, so we're going to split up some of these songs, and we're going to go ahead and play a old school track from Doom 2. This is map 1 and also map 15. This track is called Running from Evil, again composed by Mr. Bobby Prince. Welcome back. That was Doom 2, and the track was Map 1, also known as Map 15, and the track is called Running from Evil, and that was composed by, again, Mr. Bobby Prince. I get like a deep purple vibe from those organs.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
For sure.
Yeah.
That's definitely something that they used quite a bit. I think this takes advantage of MIDI instrumentation a little better than a lot of the stuff from Doom 1, because, General MIDI doesn't do metal very well. So
right.
you kind of have to imagine the metal in your head, I guess, when you're kind of listening to some of the Doom 1 tracks.
Yeah.
Whereas this one's more of a classic rock kind of feel, more keyboard-led, so the general MIDI tones kind of make the song feel a little bit better.
Yeah, I think with the first track that we played, the At Doom's Gate, the Super Nintendo version of that track had a much richer tone to it, despite the fact that it was on technically inferior hardware. But when you look at a track like this, I don't know, it does have a more vibrant feel, more similar to that Super Nintendo track, just not as muddy sounding.
Yeah.
So it's good stuff. I like that bass, just that do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. It's really good. There's a track which I was going to wait till later on to talk about this, but I figure I may as well now. If you haven't heard it, it's a medley that a band called Epichlor did, and can't put it on here technically, I don't think, because it is a band that did it, like a real band, so we can't really play it. But I will post a link to it on the Facebook group, so if you are on the Facebook group, definitely wait and check that out, because it is awesome. Really good medley. Just awesome heavy metal stuff, and the reason why I bring it up is this track is right in the beginning. Cool. when you're listening to it. It's just really, really good stuff.
Yeah, it's like the episode 1, mission 1 maps on all the Doom seem to be the most iconic, because I think it's what people play.
It's the first track they hear.
It seems. Yeah, exactly. So it kind of cements that idea of what that game is going to be for you right there.
So I figured we'll talk a little bit about Doom's story, what little there is. Actually, it's interesting because Doom was supposed to have a huge, huge story.
Yeah. And
they just completely were like, nope, we're not doing that. They just completely cut it out. Some of it was kept in, but for the most part, Doom's story was completely nixed. So you play as this character named the Marine, or Doom Guy, or Marine Guy, whatever you want to call him. He's, at least in the first game, he just looks like a Marine, stereotypical Marine with a bowl cut, super short hair, kind of like gruntish type face. That was always something that I really thought was cool in the Doom games, is when you're taking damage on the bottom of the screen, you would see Doom Guy's face kind of reflect the damage. Yeah. And by and it goes down because your health is based on percentages in the first few games. And so as the percentage gets lower and lower, you just look more like hamburger meat. by 10%, you're just not even, you're barely alive, you know? So Marine guys, or Doom, we're going to call him Doom Guy.
I like Doom Guy.
Doom Guy.
That's what I always call him.
So Doom Guy essentially is a Marine that has been stranded on the planet Phobos. It's like a Marine base
it's a colony, yeah. So it takes place in the future, and so the UAC, the Space Marines, are colonizing these planets and mining them for their minerals and resources and such. And so what happens after that?
So what ends up happening is these enemies come from hell and arrive on Phobos, and so he's basically fighting his way out of both Phobos and Deimos, which is another neighboring planet. Deimos, yeah. And so he ends up getting back home to Earth, but he finds out that, the enemies arrived on Earth as well, so it's literally hell on Earth. And all the enemies look pretty cool. I mean, aside from just standard grunts and servicemen that you're shooting down, guys with chain guns. You also fight these other enemies like the imps, which are probably the most famous. Those are the brownish looking...
Yeah, with the red eyes. With the
red eyes, they throw fireballs. Yeah,
and then the other guys with the guns, they're basically Marines that have been possessed by the demon powers.
Yep,
they're against you. And then there's those Kako demons, the big flying ones. There's a lot of really cool enemies in this game.
Probably the most famous is the Cyber Demon, which is basically like a half demon, half
Minotaur. It's a Minotaur cyborg.
Yeah, pretty much. Really cool. I mean, anytime you saw one of those, you were just like, oh no, and you
Yeah.
had to like back up, and you had to, because those guys just took so much out of you to try to kill them.
I think Doom 2 introduced the Revenants, right? The skeletons with the missile launchers on their back.
Yeah, the
Those are
Revenants.
really cool.
Doom 2 also, I believe, introduced I can't remember their names, but they were the guys that launched the fire, like the stream of fire, and you had to move basically completely off the screen to avoid their fire. But all the enemies in this game made such like awesome noises. Yeah,
That was a pretty good impression.
that was pretty good. Those guys made my favorite noise because it's like a gurgling, like when they died, it was like, oh, like, I don't know, I just thought it was so cool. What was your favorite weapon in Doom?
I always liked the shotgun. I was a big get up right in
Which?
front of him. The double barrel.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, the sound on that double barrel shotgun. Just, you fire it off, just boom, and then the reload sound, just love it.
That was one of my favorite parts, actually, in New Doom.
Oh, yeah.
Because when you start off, you just learn about the whole demon invasion, and then you go down this elevator to Mars' surface. And as you're going down the elevator, like the title screen comes up.
Yeah, yeah.
And it plays like a shortened version of At Doom's Gate
Right.
in the metal style. And then at the end, it goes dun-dun, 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 and he picks up his shotgun and cocks it. Like, dun-dun, dun-dun, and then you go out into the surface of Mars. It was really well done.
Yeah, it's really good. Just, man, love that shotgun. Just so good. I need that as like a ringtone. Like a text message ringtone, so every time I get a text,
I don't think in
hear...
today's society that would probably go over too well, just saying.
Speaking of which, actually, Doom is highly controversial back in the day.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember playing it, and my parents didn't really care. They were like, whatever, he's, he's 13, like,
But it was considered a murder simulator by
Yeah.
lots of people out there.
Definitely
And it was kind of high profile in the Columbine School massacre.
Yes.
As well.
Because they found out that those kids played Doom.
Right.
And so it began this whole,
It was one of
Crucible
those
sort of thing.
Yeah, it was one of those games that ended up being responsible for the ESRB and the game rating systems.
Yep.
This and Mortal Kombat were kind of vilified as being
Night Trap
violence
as well.
marketed to kids.
Yep.
So, in a sense, it kind of paved the way for more violent games, but those violent games were more responsibly marketed and rated. So,
Yeah,
it all kind of worked out in the end.
I'm not a parent, so
My
I can't
parents
say.
cared very much.
Right.
I wasn't even allowed to watch G.I. Joe when I was a kid.
Dude.
Because it was human on human violence.
Real American
But
hero.
He-Man was totally okay.
Yeah, well,
Transformers was totally okay.
that's weird.
Yeah, it's just G.I. Joe.
Interesting.
In any case, so there were parents out there that were like that,
Yeah, but I couldn't watch Saved by the Bell, so my parents wouldn't let me watch that.
Kelly Kapowski.
Yeah, that's why.
It's too much for your little Mike brain to handle. Or your little Mike something to handle.
Oh my, heyo. All right, speaking of heyos, let's get into our next track. Why not? The next track is also from Doom 2016, so we're going back to the future. And the track is called The Burning Hells, again by Mr. Mick Gordon.
And we're back. That was a track called The Burning Hells from the new Doom soundtrack, composed by Mick Gordon. And just to clarify, I'm doing a lot of clarification today. Just to clarify this a little bit, so there's no, as of this recording, there is no official soundtrack released for new Doom. So what we've done to provide you with these tunes is so the Final Fantasy Shrine forums, where I also host my page full of video game rips, on a separate thread, two users by the name of Max Rockatansky and Skelly have put together this huge compilation of Doom music. And so they kind of came up with the titles themselves. So it's not an official title, it's just an easy way to find it if you want to see it on the internet. The way the music in New Doom works for the gameplay is that it's kind of flows as the battle progresses, so there's lots of different pieces that kind of stitch together to make one song. So what they've done is they've kind of seamlessly stitched a lot of these separate music files from one section of the game to kind of make it sound like one cohesive song. So big shout out to those guys for putting this huge project in. It's like 5 hours worth of music or something. So this is just a small sample of what the in-game gameplay sounds like. And they titled this one The Burning Hells. I
dig that track, man. That thumping heartbeat bass, just with that mechanical sound to it, it's just really fresh, really cool.
Yeah, it matches the visuals of the game very, very well, because the game is just, it's all like lots of reds and grays, very kind of, it's not muted colors, but they're kind of subdued colors, and this music just kind of makes it all kind of round out into one kind of industrial music package.
Yeah, the game itself, I mean, the music really matches up with the gameplay. When you get out of the base and you see Mars, you're just like, I would say I was taken aback a little bit as far as the visuals. It was just so engrossing, and I had all the lights off in the house and everything, like I'm hanging out in the basement and just playing this game, and I just got lost in it. Like, I didn't know where to go first. I felt like I was really there. It was really cool. So, like, visually, the game really does a great job of matching with the music. So, as far as the plot goes, this game does have a little bit more of a plot, not too much, but Doom is essentially set on a research facility that's owned by a company called the Union Aerospace Corporation, and the director of that facility, his name is Samuel Hayden, who kind of sounds like Optimus Prime a little bit.
Kind of a gravelly, low voice.
Yeah, in fact, I wouldn't be surprised if they came out and said, oh, it was Peter Cullen that did the voiceover. But essentially, Mr. Hayden is a man's brain who is essentially, it's like his mind is in an android body, and he brings these researchers in to try to attempt to steal energy or take energy from hell in order to solve an energy crisis on Earth. And so essentially what ends up happening is this woman named Olivia Pierce, who's a scientist, ended up making a pact with the demons, and so the demons come out of hell, and she makes it so that the demons can't go back. So that's pretty much it. So Doom Guy has to fight all the evil enemies from hell.
Very, very similar to the Doom 3 plot, where the UAC was mining for resources and developing new technology on a planet out in space, and they accidentally bumped into some artifacts that opened the gates to hell, and everything came through. So very similar in the plot lines. That's basically every single Doom, is that there's a human installation somewhere out in space, they accidentally trip open the gates of hell, and things start getting hellish. So very similar to Dead Space too. It's kind of the same plot there.
Yeah, Dead Space reminds me a lot of this game, but I would say that this game feels differently as far as the gameplay. I mean, it feels more classic Doom, so it doesn't directly take huge amounts of influence from Dead Space. But I will say, like, the whole outer space feel to it definitely has that early Doom vibe kind of mixed with Dead Space. So Dead Space 1 is amazing. That was such a great game.
Yeah, and I think, the developers of Dead Space had said that they took a lot of influence from Doom.
That makes sense.
And now I think kind of in reverse, it feels like this new Doom has taken a lot of, stuff in turn from the Dead Space series. So they're kind of borrowing back and forth from each other.
Yeah, as far as the weapons go in Doom, in the 2016. What was the last weapon that you picked up? Because I know you only played the demo.
Yeah, I played the demo. I played through it once, and then I watched Eddie play through it again so that I could kind of get a better picture of the levels and everything. Again, the shotgun. I mean, I like the shotgun. I like the automatic rifles. I'm not too big with a big fan of the plasma weapons.
Oh, I love the
much.
plasma cannon.
They're very rapid, but I like just being able to poke around the corner and shoot off a few quick bullets and do more damage. I think the plasma rifles are underpowered and that you really need to like poke an enemy full of holes in order to do any real damage with them. So it takes a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Even though you don't have to be as accurate. So
true. The reason why I like the plasma rifle, well, at least in the original Doom games, like Final Doom and Doom 2 and everything, when you are firing the plasma rifle, basically whatever you're firing just stops in its tracks, and you're essentially like pushing it back, which I always thought was really cool. In this game, it's kind of similar. I mean, you're using the plasma cannon, and you're shooting it at these, big giant monsters, which I haven't encountered anything like huge, like ginormous, but there's one enemy in particular in this game so far that I've encountered that's really fairly big, kind of similar to the Barons that you would encounter in the early Doom games. And so he's really big and he charges at you and everything, and so with that cannon you can kind of like hold him back a little bit. Yeah, I really dig the shotgun as well. That's probably my favorite. That's my go-to weapon. So that's the one I've been upgrading at this point, which is really a cool part of this game, is that you can upgrade your weapons, you can upgrade your armor. You get all these different like expansions and features in the game. There's also these cool challenges, which I just discovered, which you go up to this like relic and you touch it and it offers you a challenge. And it's basically like a short little mini challenge. Like, for example, the first one was kill 15 imps within a certain amount of time, and if you were able to do it, then you would unlock another power-up, which is really cool. So it's like I unlocked like a vacuum, which would suck up more like item drops and stuff.
So it kind of adds to the replay value of the game too.
Yeah.
So if you don't get them the first time, you can go back and get them. It's also got kind of a very basic RPG style power-up system where you can grab augmentations to your suit,
right,
and then you can attribute those power points to armor or weapons, or what is it, maneuverability, I think is the third one.
Yeah.
So you can kind of build your guy as you go, kind of built for different situations. Have them, really slow and powerful, or much quicker and less powerful. So kind of makes the gameplay more suited to an individual's taste.
I've always been a big fan of Doom's secrets. Even on the original games, ID Software also made Commander Keen. And so at one point in the earlier Doom games, you can actually find Commander Keen, his little sprite in the game. Which is really cool. So in this game, it's kind of similar in the sense that there's a lot of throwback stuff. One really cool thing is that hidden throughout every map, there's usually about 2 little Doom Guy dolls, which are so freaking adorable, and I really want one. So yeah, that needs to happen. If they make a Doom, what are they called? Those Funko toys?
The Funko
Pops. I might have to break down and get one because it's super cute.
They should call them Doom-meebos.
Doom-meebos, yeah. So you can grab these secrets, these little Doom guys, and when you grab one, it plays like a really,
it's a quick snippet of the original Doom
themes.
The
original Doom theme, and it's like I don't know, it's like really filtered.
The reason for that, there actually are secrets in the game that bring you back to portions of the original Doom levels.
I haven't encountered those yet.
Just fully scaled in 1080p.
Right.
And then when you get into those areas, the real Doom MIDI music will play in those sections.
That's awesome. That's actually one of the reasons why I bought the game is because I watched a video, I think it was on IGN, and I saw a clip of that.
Oh yeah, I saw the same one. They kind of showed a couple of those areas off.
And it was so crazy because they're walking back and forth from left to right, and they're just like, all right, this is the new game, and then they go right and it's just like old school Doom. Same enemies, like in terms of the new enemies, but so that's the only thing that remains constant from the old universe, that and your guns. But the music is there, the gameplay's there, like the level layout's there. You're just like, oh man, it's just such a flashback.
I think the one I saw was it was part of the maze from E1 M2 with all the strobes, all the strobe lights and flashing black and white lights. Yeah, that was really cool.
It's neat. All right, so let's get into our next track. This is going to be another same song, different system for episode 1, mission 9. The track is called Hiding the Secrets. And we're going to first start off with the PC version from good old 1993, courtesy of Mr. Bobby Prince. That was the PC version from 1993. This next version is the Super Nintendo track.
Alright, that was the Super Nintendo version of Hiding the Secrets. Up next is the 3DO version.
And we're back. That track was Episode 1, Mission 9, Hiding the Secrets from the very first Doom game. And that was first the PC version in 1993, the Super Nintendo version, and then later the 3DO version.
Yes, sir.
I love the guitar pull on the strings, the da-na-na-na-na-na, you know, just, so cool.
Yeah, it is a pretty cool track. Probably one of my favorites from the game.
It gets a little long.
Yeah, exactly. The way that the original Doom music worked is that it would play the full track, and then it would like go up like a semitone, and then
different octaves,
play the whole track through, that way. So the full length of the song is pretty darn long.
Yeah.
So just for time's sake, we're going to kind of fade out, halfway through that, right before it goes up to that upper octave.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about the Super Nintendo version, if you want. So it was developed by Sculptured Software, and it used their Reality Engine programmed by Randy Linden, and it used the Super FX2 chip. I think it was the only release game to use the FX2 chip.
Yeah, I think so. It was definitely the first.
At least in the US.
Yeah.
Because I think maybe Winter Gold also used the FX2 chip, but that never came out in the US.
Right.
So they removed a whole bunch of stuff to port it over to the SNES. For one, the floor and the ceiling were not texture mapped. So they were kind of flat colors. I don't think they were actually even polygons. So really all you were seeing was the walls that were actual polygons in the game, which kind of freed up a little bit of processing power. The enemies were only able to face you. So like in the PC Doom, you could circle strafe and go behind an enemy and see behind them and see their backside, so you can hit them and they couldn't hit you. In the Super Nintendo version, they were always facing you. And then because of the control situation, they also took away your ability to circle strafe. So you could strafe left and right using the shoulder buttons, but you couldn't turn while doing so. So you were moving in straight lines left and right. So it took away a lot of that tactical ability that you had in the PC version.
I will say that when I played Doom originally, I did not play with a mouse. I only played with the keys, like the WSAD on the PC.
Oh, wow.
And I think it was the directional keys as well.
Yeah.
That's how I played Doom for years. And I got really good at playing it without a mouse.
That's impressive.
It wasn't until years later when I was talking to a friend of mine, I think it was probably around like 99, 98 or so, and he was like, "You didn't play Doom with a mouse?" I was like, "No." He's like, "Dude, you got to check out this new version of Doom." And apparently they made a special mod version of Doom that allowed you to move your head up and down.
Yeah, well,
kind of like a Quake mod.
Well, the one I usually play nowadays is called GZ Doom.
Or GZ Doom, that's it.
GZ Doom is basically the Doom engine recreated for modern Windows systems. Upscales everything. Basically makes Doom play more like your modern Quake 2 style game.
Yeah, plays great.
And it plays absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where a lot of people, I think, had a lot of difficulty transitioning from one to the other, especially when Doom was out and then Quake came out. They had to kind of relearn how to orient themselves in a 3D environment, because now things are up and things are down. You're not auto-aiming anymore as much. So the Super Nintendo version kind of simplified a lot of that stuff. id Software also stated that between Wolfenstein 3D and Doom on the SNES, Nintendo wanted to censor and change like so much stuff.
Right.
I was just reading an article printed way back in 1994. It basically said they were through with Nintendo. They're not going to work with them anymore, and they haven't since. And that they were putting all of their resources into developing for the Atari Jaguar. Which, sorry guys, that didn't work out too well.
Yeah, no. But I mean, ever since then, we saw Doom 64, which we'll talk a little bit about later on in the podcast.
It's kind of a reimagining of the series.
Yeah, so to speak. Definitely a different take on the series, but I don't know. This was always classic Doom to me, so,
Given a red cartridge, too.
Yeah, that was really cool about it. There were only 2 games that were released officially on red cartridges. One was
Maximum Carnage,
and then the other one was Doom. So, nice, really cool red cart. I don't know, I dug the Super Nintendo version of Doom. I thought it was well done. I was very impressed playing it back in the day.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. And it also had multiplayer mode, too. You can actually, if you had the X-Band modem, there was a special mode that would unlock in the game, so you could play online multiplayer with other people. So that was kind of a first for a console, especially a 16-bit console.
I didn't play it online on that, but I did play online deathmatching with one of my best friends at the time. And we would tie up our parents' phone lines because we were on like 28.8 modems. Just good times. So, I don't know. The 3DO track version, I don't know. It's a little too wanky for me as far as the guitar goes.
Well, yeah. I mean, I do like the riff. I like what they did with that.
Yeah.
That solo that gets towards the end,
right?
Is, you know, when we talk about the 3DO version later on in the show, I'll talk about the music and how it was made for the game, and we'll kind of bring a little bit of light to how this soundtrack came to be. So that'll be a fun conversation.
Sounds good to me.
All right, let's move on to our next track. What do we got coming up next?
Our next track is from Final Doom. This is System Control, also known as Map 4 on Plutonia, and the track was composed by Jonathan L. Bisri, Josh Martell, L.A. Sieben, and Tom Mustaine. Doom. It's a household name, isn't it?
Right on! Doom is so tubular! But I wish I could listen to the totally rockin' soundtrack any day of the week.
Well, now you can, thanks to Sega pairing up with the composers at ID Software. Check out Doom Tracks.
Whoa, it's even spelled with an X at the end. So radical.
Yes, that's right, impressionable 90s teenager. Doom's got a balls-to-the-wall soundtrack that your parents are gonna hate. And it's all thanks to the makers of the 32X add-on.
Hey, yeah, I remember that thing. But wait, were they able to get all the music from Doom onto this CD?
You bet your candy-engulfing Saturday morning cartoon-watching face they did. Check out classic tracks such as At Doom's Gate.
Is this for real? Why does it sound so awful?
You mean awesome? Your parents are totally gonna load these tracks, so make sure to blast them extra loud. It's so awesome being a teenager, nobody understands you except your friends. And of course, this fine selection of songs on Doom Tracks. Check out another gnarly track called Hiding the Secrets.
No way, man. This is hot garbage. I don't even know why they'd release this on a CD. It sounds like an electric dead duck going to the bathroom.
But your parents will hate it. And don't forget how awesome that is.
Yeah, true. I totally can't wait to annoy my parents with this.
Doom Tracks. It makes your parents mad and tunes you on to some tracks that we're barely legally obligated to sell. Call 1-899-329-3666 today to order your copy. Parents strongly prohibited from enjoying. Children under 13 don't get your parents' permission. A Adults over 30 should take a chill pill. Void in Utah, no CODs.
Rock on!
Welcome back. That was Final Doom. System Control, or Map 4 on Plutonia is the name of the track. The game was released in 1996, and that track was composed by Jonathan El-Bizri, Josh Martell, L.A. Sebian, and Tom Mustaine. Those guys, not really sure. I guess supposedly they just worked on Final Doom and that was it.
As far as I can tell. I mean, the story behind Final Doom is that originally it was going to be 2 freeware, kind of amateur-developed map packs for Doom called TNT Evolution and the Plutonia Experiment. Evidently, John Romero saw their work, really liked what they did with the maps, and gave him a shout and said, hey, why don't you make these map packs part of a...
You reached out to him on Twitter?
Something like that. Whatever the 1996 equivalent was.
Angel Fire.
Yeah, and asked them if they wanted to make those map packs into a retail package available as like a Doom 2.5 kind of a deal.
Right.
They agreed, and so that's how these came to be. And there was a lot of backlash, because originally the people that were working on this were doing it kind of publicly, these map packs. So then when these map packs were kind of taken away from the Doom community and then offered for sale, people got understandably a little bit upset about that.
Yeah, I don't know. It was the first way that I ever experienced PC Doom, so I was okay with it. I mean, it came for free with...
Oh, sure, you had no idea what was going on behind the scenes.
Right, of course,
so it was just a cool Doom game for you.
Yeah, pretty much. But it's interesting to learn about that nowadays. I wasn't at all interested in making levels. I mean, that's just not my bag. But I will say this. I always found it interesting when I got the auto map, because there's this feature in the game where you can get like an unlockable map, which basically gives you the rundown of every little nook and cranny in the levels.
Yeah.
And what I started to do, you can't do this in the new game, which kind of bums me out. But what I used to do is run around the game in map mode. So it would just be this little cursor running all over the place trying to find all the secrets. And the only time it would come out of map mode is when I started hearing that I was getting hit. So I'd hit tab. And
that's one way to do it, I guess.
Yeah. I don't know. I always thought that was kind of cool.
So this music, while it's still, in your general MIDI kind of realm, did have a different composer. So it's very much in the vein of Bobby Prince's stuff, but it feels a little bit different.
The time signatures on this are way off, and I love that. This kind of was... It's got those chuggy guitars, but the riff is off, where you can hear it in the background. It's kind of like repeating the riff overlapping it.
Yeah.
And it's really cool sounding. And the drums too. The drums in Doom always sounded really top notch. Here in particular, they sound fantastic. But I will say that the ride cymbal did kind of get a little annoying on certain Doom tracks, because they would really hammer that thing home.
Yeah, and MIDI back then didn't really have a lot of difference in velocity and volume of notes, so it all sounded very robotic. Nowadays you can get a little bit more of a human element when you're using ride cymbals and stuff, so it makes it easier to listen to.
Right. I started on Plutonia, so this was pretty much the first track that I ever heard from any PC Doom game.
It's very backwards.
Yeah, I don't know. I played the last classic Doom game first. Go figure. I mean, it was 1995, 96? 96. It was 96, actually. Yep. Yeah, so...
Yeah, because it wasn't released on DOS until... Or did you play the PlayStation version or the DOS version first?
No, I played the DOS version.
Yeah, so that was June of 1996.
Yeah.
Came out, so yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Okay.
Summer game.
Yeah. This is not a summer game.
Not for a Summer Gems episode,
No.
For sure.
So, what about you? Have you played this one?
I played it a little bit on the PlayStation, I think. I've dabbled with Doom. I wouldn't say that I played it a lot on the 32X.
Oh,
unfortunately.
You poor soul.
That was really my main experience with Doom, because I had a 32X. There weren't very many games available. I owned that game. It was cool at the time because it was just a novelty to be able to move in a 3D space on a 16-bit console.
And it looked great, too. It looked a lot better than the Super Nintendo version. For the time, it looked good.
Yeah. The frame rate was decent. It was just very low resolution, so even enemies that were, a couple dozen yards from you would still just look like a block.
Yeah.
Blurry blob. But, it got me familiar with the maps. And the awful thing about that game was that the Genesis controllers didn't have shoulder buttons.
Right.
So in order to strafe, you had to like hold the A button down and then move left and right, and also try to fire at the same time. So it made the game really difficult to play. We got pretty good at it because that was our way of playing it, you know? But then once I got to, like the PC version or like I think I rented the SNES version a couple times, using the shoulder buttons to strafe, I was like, oh, so this is how you're really supposed to play the game.
Right.
And it made a lot more sense after that. For good reasons, we're not even really playing the 32X music as part of the main show because it's just bad.
You mean great?
It's like a series of duck farts and bricks being thrown at the ground. That's essentially what it sounds like to me.
Yes. Oh, man. So that's Final Doom. So may as well get into the next track. This is from Doom 2016, or New Doom, as you like to call it. The track is called Rip and Tear, unofficially, of course, as we said earlier. Mm-hmm. And this is, again, by Mick Gordon. This is a really heavy track, so get your metal stomping boots on. Welcome back. You just got your butt kicked by Doom 2016.
Butt ripped and teared.
That was Rip and Tear by Mr. Mick Gordon from the Doom 2016 soundtrack, which came out in 2016, or as Ed likes to call it, New Doom.
Yes.
Yes. Doom Guy's big day out.
Oh, that would be definitely a good game to play.
Yes.
It's like Doom for kids.
Yeah. We do have to mention that, as we said earlier, there is no official soundtrack for this game that's been released officially. And so we were working with song names that came from the Final Fantasy Shrine Forum?
Yeah, the unofficial game rip, more or less.
So the track that I found, which is called Rip and Tear, is the one that you just heard, which I found on YouTube. Unfortunately, that's not the name of the song that we can find.
Yeah,
it's up for speculation.
If you look for Doom Rip and Tear on YouTube, you'll see 4 different videos, each with a different track with the same name,
different time numbers and everything.
Yeah, we're just kind of going the best that we can. Here. So, anyways, you guys should just download the full soundtrack and listen to it anyway, because it's totally rad.
Yeah, seriously. What do you think of this track?
Well, it's way too metal for me.
Oh, so good.
I got about 1:30 in and was
really?
I need to take my earbuds out. This is just.
What do you think of that pulse,
At the beginning, it was really cool. But then all that industrial stuff just went away, and it was just like Meshuggah.
Oh my god.
Meshuggah song.
Yes, it was like if Meshuggah and Fear Factory had a baby and named it Doom Guy.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That
little Doom
Guy. That little
guy.
baby just ripped and teared its way out.
Yeah. But I really like Meshuggah and Fear Factory, so that song for me, at least personally, like really just fits in. It's like off time signature sounds that 8 string, probably about 8 to 9 string, probably
15 string guitar.
Yeah, 35 string guitar. It's just really good. Awesome stuff.
35. The lower strings would be like the width of like drinking straws.
Yeah. Just sounds like vomit. Oh man. Yeah, so Mick Gordon nailed it. He really knocked it out of the park with this one. Mick Gordon actually has done quite a bit. He's becoming a pretty famous composer. He did something called Hot Dogs, Hot Gals. Not really sure. He's worked on a lot of different stuff, mostly actually really popular kid stuff like Marvel Superhero Squad, Nicktoons, Attack of the Toy Bots, El Tigre, The Adventures of Manny Rivera, Last Airbender, Need for Speed.
So Doom Guy's big day out isn't a very far stretch.
No, seriously.
He could probably compose that pretty easily.
Yeah. Shoot Mania Storm. He worked on Killer Instinct Season 1 and Season 2, Wolfenstein The New Order, and Wolfenstein The Old Blood. So most likely when he hooked up with
ID
software, they probably approached him like, hey, listen, we liked what you did with Wolfenstein Killer Instinct, and this kind of has that vibe. Similar
for Killer Instinct for sure.
Dubstep metal.
Because a lot of industrial metal like Atlas Plug and Cell Dweller are working on the Killer Instinct soundtrack, and it sounds a lot like a lot of the more industrial stuff on this soundtrack.
He's apparently going to be doing a game called Routine that's coming out this year, and also he's doing Prey, which... Didn't Prey come out like years and years and years ago?
Yeah, I think it's an update to the series.
Gotcha.
Like a continuation of it. I don't think they have an official title for it yet, so they're just calling it Prey for now.
Yeah.
In any case, I'm looking forward to those soundtracks because, like you said, you knocked it out of the park here.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. So, yeah, Doom 2016 is a really cool game. I'm really digging it so far. I don't really do like game of the years, so to speak, because I just play games whenever I want. So it's
I do what I want.
I do what I want.
Break a window.
Yeah. Break a demon.
Crunch mic.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't pick really games of the year just because I don't think there's anything.
But if you did pick a game of the year, this would be it. Is that what you're leading up to?
Yeah, I would say so far, this is probably the game that has come out this year that I've been like really kind of playing quite a bit.
Cool.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah, I'll buy it eventually. I gotta wait for the price to either come down or...
I think it did come down, actually. I picked it up for about 30 something.
Well, there was the Steam Summer Sale. I think it went down to $35 for that. Now it's back up to, as of this recording, I think it's back up to the usual $60.
Last I checked, the physical copy at Best Buy was $30-something.
Yeah, but I want it on PC. I need the mouse.
Yeah.
I'm not going to use a crappy controller to play first-person shooters.
It actually controls really well on the
I know.
on the PS4.
I just feel like with mods and stuff, I just like playing these games on the PC more.
Word. Fair enough.
Put down your pitchforks. It's just my opinion. We have a lot of console freaks on our listeners group.
Ain't no thing but a console thing.
Right. Oh, I'm definitely not like one of those like PC gamer
Master
elite.
Race.
No. I'm an all-encompassing.
You're Sweden.
I mean, I like the Atari 2600 almost as much as I like all the other consoles.
You're
so
Sweden.
I just like everything, man.
You're freaking Sweden.
There's a box I can put in another box and make things move on a screen, then I enjoy it. I don't care.
You Swede.
Yes.
You.
Hey. I make really good army knives. So digressing way too much here. Let's move on to our next track. This is our last little same song, different system thing we got set up. This is Episode 1, Mission 4, Kitchen Ace and Taking Names. This first one's from the PC by Bobby Prince.
You just heard the PC version of Episode 1, Mission 4 from the original Doom. This is the Super Nintendo version.
Alright, that was the Super Nintendo version of Episode 1, Mission 4, Kitchen Ace and Taking Names. Here is the 3DO rendition of that same track.
welcome back. That was the 3DO version of Kitchen Ace and Taking Names from the first Doom game. And that was composed by Mr. Bobby Prince.
Has a bit of a prog rock feel to it after a while. You know, I really like the intro, which is kind of like why I want to put this one in here, because it starts off really cool, and then once it gets to that staccato part, I think maybe it kind of falls apart a little bit. It gets a little repetitive after a while.
I think that's my biggest problem with the track, is it gets a little too repetitive a little bit later on towards the end. But yeah, I also really dig that intro part.
Yeah. But the 3DO version, they do kind of throw in like a little guitar solo, and while it's not like anything blistering, it does kind of keep the song a little bit fresh for a little bit longer than the PC and the SNES versions do. The 3DO version didn't run very well. This publishing house called Art Data basically got the rights from id Software for releasing Doom on the 3DO. And so they put all their money into it. They thought this was going to be the thing that was going to put them on the map. They hired one developer by the name of Rebecca Heinemann, who was very well known for doing a lot of, games pre-Doom, a lot of PC games. She was a very skilled, kind of a prodigy kind of programmer. And so she was tasked with getting Doom running on the 3DO. And she thought, sure, no problem, whatever, we'll get this done. She ran into so many problems because it was one of those deals where the owner of Art Data, Randy Scott, said, I want this out. He asked Rebecca, how long do you think it'll take? She said about 6 months. He said, no, you've got 3 months. We need it out by Christmas and not spring of 1996. Mm-hmm. So, she had all of these issues going forward. They gave her the source code of the Jaguar version to port to the 3DO instead of the regular PC version.
Right.
So that caused a lot of issues.
Jeez.
There was a lot of programming language differences between the two, so the code wouldn't even run natively. She had to go through all the code and change values. It was just this horrible thing.
Wow.
When the game was supposed to be done, she only had a beta finish, and that was only running at 2 frames per second. So it was a really difficult thing for her.
Jeez.
I'm surprised that she got it working as well as she did. The game runs pretty chuggy, but the screen size is pretty good. The reason why the music is different in this port versus all of the other ports is because the music on the Jaguar ran on a 68,000 processor, which the 3DO doesn't have in it. So the instructions were completely different for music.
Right.
So Randy Scott, who, like I said before, was the owner of Art Data, had this garage band that he was in. So he and Brian Clellan, who also was in the band with him, Rebecca Heinemann basically gave him a tape with all of the Doom songs, and then he went back and the band learned the music. And so they recorded the whole soundtrack for the game in Randy's garage.
Interesting.
So the production's decent for something that was like, oh crap, we need music for this game, let's do it, and not hiring off somebody that... So what they did, especially with the Doom 1 theme, the E1M1 theme, I really like how that came out.
Yeah, that one was probably the best out of all of them.
Yeah. And just, some of them they did a really good metal version of. A lot of them they used a lot of keyboard leads and stuff, but it's produced pretty well. It sounds very good, especially since the 3DO had, not great sound compression capabilities. These were compressed at a pretty high rate for the game.
They were very clean sounding. I mean, I made the comparison earlier in the podcast that it sounded like something on Sega CD, and I kind of still attest to that. I think that this music sounds very, very highly produced and very clean.
Exactly. So what they got running at the end of the whole ordeal was Doom running in a much smaller window. It wasn't full screen like you would normally get on the PC. Even the 32X version runs in kind of a smaller window.
I think the Super Nintendo also runs at a small window.
Yeah. It was just something that they had to do to get these ports.
Well, consoles ran things back then, so it makes sense. I mean, even though the PC was the ultimate version of the game, that was the version that everybody played. But
exactly,
kids like me still had Super Nintendo kicking around.
Exactly. Randy Scott, who believed that this was going to make or break his company, ordered 50,000 copies of Doom for the 3DO. And the 3DO had only sold 200,000 units at that point, so they were expecting a full quarter of the user base to get Doom for their system, and they didn't sell nearly as many as that.
That's a shame.
That's why you see the name Art Data and you don't align it with other companies like Konami and Capcom.
Right.
It's just bad business decisions.
Yeah.
But so that's the story behind the 3DO version. I guess the soundtrack is one of the better things that came out of that whole ordeal. I did play it on my 3DO for a bit, and it's playable, but obviously, if you have any other access to any other version out there, especially like I said before, the Jaguar, which I think is probably the most clean running port out there, even a little bit smoother than the PlayStation from what I remember. It's definitely worth checking out that one if you happen to have a Jaguar.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably say the Jaguar version, at least graphically, is a little bit better than the Super Nintendo version.
Yeah.
But, oh well.
So that...
It didn't come in a red cart.
It did not. It did not. It had pretty good artwork on the cover, though.
True.
But,
True.
Yeah, that's about the end of that. So, and then, again, just like, a lot of these other systems out there, Doom was supposed to be one of those console sellers. So that's probably why they ported it to the 32X and the 3DO and the Jaguar, because they wanted to get people interested in these systems and they felt the software would lead the charge. But the fact was that the game was so ubiquitous on PC, everybody had at least the shareware version.
Right.
Who's going to want to play a crappier version of it on a console or on a TV? I'm sure some people would like to sit on their couch instead of their computer desk to do it.
Right.
But when you have that much of a difference between qualities in the two ports, it's not going to make you want to go out and get it. So.
That's why the new Doom is so great, because the PC and the PS4, Xbox One ports are essentially the same game.
Yeah.
Just, it really boils down to whether or not you want to play with a mouse or a controller.
Yeah. So. And I was watching you play the PS4 version before this, and frame rate's very, very smooth. The graphics are a little less advanced than what you can get on the PC, but that's usually the way it always is.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's also depending on your hardware too. I've got a pretty good gaming PC, so I've got everything turned all the way up. But the PS4 version definitely looked and played very good from what I saw.
Word. All right, well, that'll pretty much do it for our Doom Same Song, Different System show. We'd like to thank you for listening.
And Doom Guy for killing thousands and thousands of demons.
That's right. Doom Guy needs a girlfriend. Doom Gal.
Doom Gal.
Doom Gal.
Doom Gal.
Yeah.
Maybe it could be Doom Gal's big day out.
She's in a pink costume, like a pink...
Why's it gotta be pink, man?
I don't know.
Gosh.
Okay. It'll be purple. Purple?
Purple's okay.
All right.
Well, it would match the green. It would have to be something that complements Doom Guy's green outfit.
I think dark purple would work pretty well.
I think it would work pretty well, too.
Yeah. Okay.
Plus, you'd still be able to see red blood on it.
Yeah.
With pink, they would bleed into each other.
Ah, that's true. Yeah. Purple. All right, then. It's settled. Doom Gal 64.
Can't be yellow, because then she'd get confused with Samus.
Right,
so we can't do that.
Yeah, like yellow-orange. No, that wouldn't work.
Yes.
True.
It can't be blue, because that would be the Zero Suit.
Yeah.
So we gotta go with purple.
All right. Ultimate question. Doom Guy, Samus, and Master Chief get in a fight. Who wins?
Master Chief.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
You think so?
Yeah.
I don't know. I know I should go with Samus, but I'm not gonna. I'm gonna say Doom Guy.
You think so?
Yeah, Doom Guy took on hell. Master Chief just took on a bunch of aliens.
Well,
and Samus is just always losing her armor and her weapons.
Well, yeah, but Master Chief's suit is more advanced. Oh, well, I guess Samus' suit is very advanced, too.
Yeah, Samus, dude, she's got ball mode.
She's got ball mode.
She got ball mode. Morph ball.
But Master Chief has Cortana.
True.
So he can find gas stations wherever he goes.
I think her ship could do that. Doom Guy doesn't need a ship.
Well, yeah.
Because he's on
Halo
hell.
Guy.
Yeah, but still.
Let's just call it a draw, I guess.
I guess.
I don't know. We'd like to hear in the comments what you guys think. And also, we'd like more Pixel Chat questions, so give us a shout at pixeltunesradio@gmail.com. We're getting a lot of, video game-related questions. What's our favorite game? What's our favorite hardware? Etc., etc. You can ask us questions about the podcast. You can ask us questions about...
how we create the podcast. Yeah, all that sort of stuff.
Like. I mean, the subject matter is open to anything. Obviously, things that are too personal, we probably won't answer, but, anything and everything.
Did you sleep good last night?
I slept very well last night. Anyhow, so send us your questions for PixelChat at pixeltunesradio@gmail.com. Follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/groups/PixelTunesRadio. Subscribe to us on iTunes. Follow us on Twitter at PixelTunesRadio. We have our YouTube channel.
YouTube.com/dongled, where you can go ahead and check out all the episodes of Pixel Tunes Radio up to date. And you can also watch cool stuff like video game review shows like Dude, You Haven't Played This Game, which is in the midst of a Tomb Raider shenanigan extravaganza.
Wow, I can't even say that.
Shenanigan extravaganza.
Shenanigan extravaganza.
That's right.
That's almost as good as supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Yo, listen, I make new things.
Shenanigan
They happen.
extravaganza.
So we're going to have our outro track, which is going to be from the PlayStation version of Doom.
Yeah, the PlayStation and N64 version, or Doom 64 as you would call it, had soundtracks written by Aubrey Hodges. And there aren't too many pieces of music in the game. Mostly while you play the game, there are ambient tracks.
Really super ambient.
Yeah.
And it's good ambient music if you're into ambient music.
Just wouldn't fit in the show too well.
Right. It's not podcast worthy, I would say.
Yeah. So this
Unless
is
we want to put you guys to sleep.
Right. This is the menu theme, and it's a little bit marchy with some electronic guitars in the background, and it's very well produced. I really enjoy
It's very
this particular
Batman.
track. It's got that one segment in the middle there where it sounds like the Batman animated series theme song,
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
pretty neat.
Well, the Batman animated series theme is based on the movie's theme, so.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
right,
you're
right.
right. So, yeah, definitely going to be there.
Word.
All right, so we will see you guys back here in 2 weeks for episode 67. You guys take care. Thanks for listening as always.
Peace out, Cub Scout.
See you later with a mouthful of trout.
Yes.
Yes.